Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fadwa Wazwaz. I'm continuing with the theme speaking truth to power. And I would like to reflect on not just the past year. As I said, I'd like to connect this past year to the history and the context in the region. I want to take you to a post that I have done and take you particularly to the words of one of the prime ministers of Israel, Shimon Peres. And the reason I'd like to use other prime ministers is because this is not a Benjamin Netanyahu problem. This is not just if we remove Benjamin Netanyahu, everything will fix itself. One prime minister after another prime minister after another prime minister of Israel had the same vision, the same mission for Palestinians: ethnic cleansing, give them hell, instill the fear of death. You know, that same psychological warfare, law warfare, isolating them from the rest of the world where they cannot be heard, they're silenced, their voices are criminalized, using the Holocaust as a weapon, trying to connect the situation in the Levant or in the Middle East or West Asia to the Jewish problem in Europe, and trying to connect the dots in a way that creates chaos and distortion, and making something that is simple complicated so that anyone who tries to understand, they would say it's complicated, to push people away from even attempting to read and understand what is on the table in their own words, in their own actions, for all to witness and for all to say stop. So let me share with you, and I'm going to end this with the words of Shimon Peres, although I am going to direct those words to people, the situation on the ground for October 7th. And I don't mean it to be hurtful or anything, but for reflection, because they're not seeing how they come across. I mean Zionists, not referring to Jews who have been vocal, open, loud about this is not my values, this is not my faith. So I recognize them, I amplify their voices, I note their voices, I note their names, let them speak for themselves, and I thank them. I'm referring to here Zionists who have took it upon themselves to connect Judaism with Zionism, not those who said has nothing to do with me. So just bear in mind. When Prophet Muhammad, this is from the last theme about faith, sometimes faith can be a problem in that we use it as a weapon. It's like we use a Holocaust as a weapon sometimes, or democracy, or our common values. Sometimes we also use our faith as a weapon. And when you gain power, one of the ways that you know somebody has God behind their back is when they gain power. Now you have power. All your arguments of blah, 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 you have to put them aside, because now you have power. With power comes responsibility. You also have influence over the situation. When he went into Mecca after an exceptionally long battle, years of torture, years of oppression, years of persecution, I mentioned that because, again, persecution, genocide is not exclusively a Jewish experience. Throughout history, human beings have been genociding each other, harming each other, killing each other. This is something that angels bore witness to. The angels who are pure said, these are people who shed blood and make mischief. They didn't say this group or that group. They noted like human beings are capable of shedding blood and making mischief. The moral law came to teach us to rise and to learn and to heal and to strengthen ourselves. So when he entered Mecca after all of this torture and persecution, his head was bowed in a state of gratitude and humility. There was no sadism parties. He frees most people who assumed a bloodbath will take place. They were waiting because they knew what they did. They were waiting for a bloodbath to take place. His steps were guided by God. There were some individuals who were prosecuted, but there was no bloodbath that took place, kind of what we are seeing post October 7, 2023. On the other hand, when Zionists entered Palestine, even though Palestine was not Europe, notice that they fled from, and Palestinians were not their persecutors. Zionists entered Palestine, in their own words, in their own diaries, as Nazis. They engaged in actions similar to the actions of Nazis in Palestine. They demanded and obligated the world to show them mercy and compassion for their experiences and suffering in the Holocaust, while showing no mercy or compassion to their victims. Zero mercy, compassion. It's not just October 7th. It's the 100 years of zero compassion and mercy to their victims. They respond to their victims with complete sadism, they meaning Zionists. We should remember their responses and serve it to them when they share their sad stories. Again, it's not just Netanyahu. So my response to Zionists on the coming October 7th commemoration, I brought this out, saved it. This is, I'll come here, but let's watch the video so you can understand why I'm saying this.
With Muslims warring against the establishment of a Jewish state, the soldiers of Israel equip themselves with munitions they seize, armament of every sort.
They are self-victimizing. They victimize themselves. They are a victim of their own mistakes, unnecessarily.
This is their response after they engage in massacres to Palestinians. Every massacre, this is literally their response, and how type of compassion and the lack of compassion, the lack of empathy, the lack of awareness of how cruel, sadistic they are. So on this day, while they are commemorating, October 7th, and they're still struggling to understand taking Palestinian hostages is wrong. Occupation is wrong, as I have shown you just a small clips. The Nakba is wrong. The oppression, the displacement, the ongoing ethnic cleansing is wrong. And so on and so on. And they're still struggling. We have to connect October 7th to the context in the region. And the words that they've been serving Palestinians all these years. I like to focus always on those in power, not that little, person with doing some sort of TikTok video, but those in power, because power influences society. If you can get away with saying something like this, Netanyahu, Gallant, all of them are saying something of similar. One prime minister after the next. And that's the type of culture and society you will have. They say they're democratic. They're democratic in the sense that Jewish people have political rights and civil rights to be able to protest this. Palestinians don't have, as I have shown you, they don't have political rights. They cannot protest what he's saying. They cannot stand up against what he's saying. So they have the ability to call this out, but they remain silent. So on this October 7th, I say those Zionists, to those bring them home crowds, we're only concerned about those who were held hostage. I remind the Zionists, the colonialists, the imperialists, you had options and opportunities for coexistence and ceasefire before October 7th. You had options on October 7th and after October 7th. You chose genocide, occupation, and ethnic cleansing. So my response to you, I can't give you a better response than the one that you've accepted and you've recognized and you celebrated those who said those words. You're self-victimizing. All your stories about October 7th, your sad stories, you're self-victimizing. That's how I will listen to them. And that will be my thought process as you share them. You victimize yourselves. You're a victim of your own mistakes. Unnecessary. These are my thoughts to you regarding, and my response to you regarding your sad stories and all the hostages and what happened to you on October 7th. And this is the worst experience since the Holocaust. This is my response to you. And I say it again, you're self-victimizing. You victimize yourselves. You're a victim of your own mistakes. Unnecessarily. Thank you.